I'm here with Kin today. Thank you for being my sitter. My name is Amir Starseed. I do intuitive and empathetic mediumship-based card readings, along with a couple other different services. Reiki is coming soon. That's going to be coming to the channel next.
Ooh.
So, yes, I'm excited. So we were talking a little bit beforehand, and you volunteered for today, and you said that your questions or concerns were finding some messages from your guides and a
Yep.
little bit of guidance. Did you want to talk about that a little bit more?
Oh, more so. Well, I would say that, my mother passed away, my dad recently passed, and just obviously handling the grief and whatnot that comes with that automatically. But seeing if, my parents are still hanging out with me and to get the message, if there's anything that I can take with it to do further meditation with, just an idea to get maybe someone who obviously is seeing something I'm not seeing or getting some semblance of a message that maybe I'm overlooking. So I'm open to it.
Maybe some more detailed messages from your spirit guides then?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Okay. Because I do feel them over there. Your dad, I don't know what kind of personality he had. I can always check in. He's giving me this kind of like this like city vibe. He's like this guy over here. He's like, is he serious? Of course we're here. Like it's kind of
I can totally get that. This would be totally
hey, like
foreign to
is he
him. Like,
serious right now? Was he from
yeah,
New York? Did he have connections to New York City?
he lived in the city of Weirton, but he was a truck driver. I use that term loosely, but he
Okay.
anything new age, holistic or whatnot, if he liked his Bible, okay? So,
Okay.
and sometimes, and he wasn't, let's just say that the questioning this is very much that I would be, yeah, that would totally line up.
Yeah, and like, cause so like he keeps like that was the message that I was hearing. He said he's over there, like, really, this guy? He's like, are you serious? Of course we're here.
So yes, I could see that.
Okay, beautiful. Okay, so yes, and I believe that our spirit loved ones are always with us. We're just it depends on how open we are to getting
Right,
messages from them.
right.
And sometimes it's hard to see the forest through the trees, right?
Hmm.
Okay. All right. So I have three cards here for you. I'm reading from the Angels and Ancestor deck. This is one of my favorites. Let's see here. What do we have? Ah, okay. Um, this is beautiful. So you have two cards that have women on it and one card that's male. And the first card that popped up is High Priest.
Okay.
Okay, okay. Of course it would be High Priest. Why wouldn't it be?
Right. Silly me. So,
Silly you. What were you expecting? Intend and create. So I'm really drawn to this is a hawk. And this staff. So actually the other side, there's two of these cards, right? There's the high priest and then there's the high priestess. And together they like back to back, they make this like winged being, right? When you put the two cards back to back.
okay.
Um, and there's also a the sacred symbol, the Merkaba back here. Can you see that
Okay. I
right
get you.
here?
Yeah.
Um, but I'm really feel called to speak a lot about the hawk right now. Hmm.
It's very interesting. You
So
said
many
two.
dynasties in so little time.
Hmm.
Hmm? So
Well,
many dynasties in so little time. Go ahead.
I was gonna say you said that you see two females and one male.
Well,
Well,
there's
that's
two cards here. There's other two cards that I'm going to break down for you.
okay.
But
Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
No, I was gonna
Um,
say that like you the way that I'm staying open to this. So,
okay. So intend and create. You've created. So this is not your first time around. You've done this many, many times before, and you have created beautiful, I'm hearing glorious, glorious dynasties, right?
okay.
And don't feel that you are on the wrong path if you have a few missteps along the way. Does that make sense? Because I really
Yes.
feel called to talk about expectations for you. And that you, one, you put a lot of expectations on yourself. So
Uh-huh.
it's like if I could have a picture of me pushing down my like shoulders, like from behind, like you're just like, it was like cramming it
Uh-huh.
down in there.
Yep.
Um, and to let that go. Because as we tend to let things go, things are a little bit more fluid, and we're not fighting against. There's something about this water element for you too. We're not fighting against the ocean, right? We're not fighting against the water. And like I said, I want to talk about the hawk part a little bit more, is to look at things from a higher perspective and to broaden your horizons a little bit more. Would that make sense?
Yes.
It does? Okay, good. One second. So we also have the Shield Maiden, and then we also have the Oracle. So the messages here today are make plans and focus. So keep doing what you're doing, right?
Okay.
Um, I'm hearing hone in. So I'm also hearing hone in on your spiritual gifts a little bit more. That's going to ground you and not make you feel like you're treading so much water. If I say the term treading so much water, would that be something that you would resonate with?
Yes.
Because you keep
But
doing this. Like you keep doing, there's like a lot of stuff going on, but
oh
and
yeah,
like you're
I
like you accept that you're like getting shit done and you're like, yeah, this is awesome. But like you also feel like you're like, oh my God, I'm so fucking tired. Like I just want to take a break.
I do feel a lot of times in life that as it's kind of been spelled out to me that I tend to spin my wheels, but I'm not getting the track. Like I need to go where my value is and not so much on just spreading everything out. The focus part.
Yeah. Yeah, the focus part and your spiritual gifts, right? With this high priest card, and you literally being able to manifest your own reality and also use the tools at your disposal. I actually I do have my tarot cards here today, but the tarot card I'm seeing for you right here, my third eye would be the magician. And the magician, it uses all the tools at his disposal. And he doesn't have any, there like what's the saying with Sherlock Holmes? It's like Sherlock, you does your depravity not know any bounds? Like your magic knows no bounds. Like you can
Okay.
literally do whatever you want, but you have to do the
Okay.
work. Would that make
Right.
sense? Like you have to
Yes.
do the spiritual work and use your spiritual tools and
Right.
place one foot in front of the other. I'm seeing footprints on sand.
Okay.
Um, does that resonate?
Yes.
Good. Okay.
Yes.
So Oracle, wait for important information. Um, I really feel called to talk about the smoke in this card. That you will the process of so there's rituals that can be done, right? Where you set your intentions or you scribe or you do sigils on paper and then you burn it. Um, Setting your intentions and then releasing them into the universe to actually let them be the thing that they're supposed to be and not forcing them and controlling them, because I feel like control is somewhat of an issue for you.
Hmm.
That you don't let it go and let it flourish and let it, like the hawk, let it fly, right? And let it be what it's supposed to be. You keep trying to put these expectations on the wings and it's not able to fly to its
Okay.
greatest potential. Would that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So the messages, right, are
Yes.
to manage expectations,
Hmm.
also to make plans and focus and explore your spiritual gifts a little bit more because it's going to get you grounded, and then continue to wait for important information while setting those intentions and then burning them and letting them go into the universe. Would that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Um,
Yes. I'm processing.
so the one thing would be to stop weighing yourself down so much because you're I'm hearing that you're really hard on yourself.
Hmm.
We are our own worst enemy. Yes.
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
Can I have some light love in the highest vibration, please? So this next deck is called Worth Your Light, and it's an oracle deck by Rebecca Campbell. Here we go. Yep. Mm. On Bound, releasing soul patterns, contracts, and past lives.
Interesting.
Let it go. I don't know what else could be more clear than that. Is to process and to let
Yeah.
the fuck go.
Right. Right. That's
Um,
very, oh wow. Okay. Keep going. I'm curious what keep going.
just to release, so the soul patterns, right? The things that we have in our contract. So I'm hearing that you've had to repeat this specific soul contract a few different times due to the issues of expectations and control. And the cycles of the learning have also repeated themselves. If you are able to step a few steps backward and look at the bigger picture, like how I was saying with the hawk, right? Look at things from a higher perspective.
Okay.
You're gonna be able to notice where you're like, oh, there's that trauma bond, right? Oh, there's that I'm doing that again.
Hmm.
It's the same thing over and over. And that's what we come down here to do, right? Like we have these soul contracts and we come down here and we do the work and hopefully we learn the lessons and they keep evolving, right? Like they keep getting layers to them. Um, and that's great. But there's some things that you haven't quite seeing these like these darts, right? Like a dartboard, like you just can't quite hit that target right on the
Yep.
center.
Hmm.
I'm also hearing heart center too. I'm hearing resentments, and so working through the resentments that come out of
Yeah.
you,
Yeah.
my friend, the resentments that come out of these kinds of things, right? Because
Hmm.
expectations and control don't come out of nowhere. They come out of things such as like trauma and resentments and anger and specifically, I'm hearing self-imposed guilt. Would that make sense? Like I said, you're
Yeah.
so hard on yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, goodness. Yes. Yes. Very much so. You're hitting like this. It like these are like chinks in my armor, the things I regularly deal with. And for the most part, I'm good. But yeah, knowing that I need to just let it go and to really focus because now,
You don't need to
like,
focus. You need to let it go to
but
process.
like, well, that
But in the act
ADHD
of,
here.
not to interrupt you, but in the act of, you're like, I have to do more because that's what I'm hearing, right? You're like, I have to focus. I have to do the thing. You don't have to do anything. You have to ask Source to come in and help show you, right, these
Hmm.
parts of yourself and say, I love you. Thank you. And I release you like the smoke, right? I release you to whatever you want to be.
Hmm. Okay.
Hmm. Sounds a little easier, doesn't it?
Yes.
Then focus right
Right.
now.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Um, are there any specific questions you have so far?
Any specific questions? I would say the one it has keeps jumping up through this whole process of just this session here, and it's stuff I've also happened when I do like my Reiki sessions, and anytime I'm in deep meditation is come back to the whole to see where if all this information here has anything to do with the king thing and the line, if there's something there that I should let go of, or if I should let's say redirect, but if I let go of one thing, do I still focus on the lion aspect, king aspect to see if that's still in play, if you will?
Hmm. Um, what else? Hmm. So heavy is the head that wears the crown.
Yeah.
Um, but in
Shocker.
saying that is to let, because here's the thing with the idea of being royalty, right? Like, oh, ego. Mm,
Yes, right.
and it's glorious purpose. Um, but it's one of those things where it's heavy. right? And
Mhm.
so, to let go of this idea of who you were. I mean, yes, to know one's, yeah, we have to know where we have to know where we've been to know where we're going, right? But
Right.
in keeping this idea, there's a part of you that is holding on to this a little bit too much, and it's becoming really heavy for you. And I feel like
Oh,
the idea of it is to, right? Is to have, so you have the chariot and you have the hanged man, the hanged one. Okay. So I would say there's a lot of big forward moving energy for you if you can harness um some enlightenment in spite of the circumstances. Would that make sense?
yes, it would. Yes, very much.
Okay, because there's this heaviness, right? There's this like there's kind of this like I don't want to say doom and gloom, but like when you first see that you hear the word hanged, you're like, oh my God, like hang, you think like
Right.
death and do you know what I mean? And all of that, and it's not. There's this um light at the end of the tunnel, and because they're not being hung by their neck, they're being hung by their foot. And also in doing that, when you hang upside down, you find things from a different perspective, right?
Right.
Perspective. This keeps coming up, perspective. And also finding the balance a little bit between the dark and the light, right? Okay. Shadow, right?
Yes. Yes.
Working and healing with shadow, ego, shadow,
Uh-huh.
working together with them. And when you're able to do Eight of Cups, when you're able to do this inner journeying of the emotional shadow, yes,
Uh-huh.
you're gonna
Yes.
find that you're gonna be moving away from the treacherous waters and moving into something a little bit more easier.
Oh, that's crazy.
I
That's so
love you.
crazy. That's so crazy. Every time I've done a reading in the past, I always have cups and swords pop up.
Well, cups are emotion and swords are mental energy. Okay.
Oh, there's it's always like one of these deals. So yeah, that's interesting. Like how that the consistency stayed with that. So but
Absolutely. So
wow.
does that help kind of shine the thing on the whole king idea, right? Like,
Hmm.
because that was your question, was like, what's this king pattern? Like, what's up with the royalty and like all of that stuff? And the
Right.
reality is that that this idea of who you were is you're superimposing that onto something that you haven't even been able to do yet, right? And that's
Right.
focused on
Right.
the present and not focused so much on the past.
Right. That makes yes,
But
that adds
know
up.
that you are deserving. You're deserving of love and healing and what else? Gratitude. Gratitude.
Okay. The
Mm.
first two that one there, yeah, that's gonna take a little bit of work for me because I don't really I don't feel that I'm the kind of, I was raised that you always give more than you ever expect back. If you give something, help someone out, you don't
Mm,
expect it back. And I've with everything with my business and just me being myself, just my nature of who I am, I've always give, and I get very little in return, but I just have accepted it at being that. So when I
mm,
do have, I mean, I've one thing I've done the past year was probably be very just show the universe gratitude because
yeah.
it had to go somewhere. And so when I started to do that, it's made honestly meditation easier. It's made
Hmm.
the interactions of because being a light worker, being out and about, high vibration, I attract all sorts of people. And so
Oh,
when you have those things happen, like as I say, I vibe up, I'll be there, and interestingly enough, I don't know if you're aware of this, but
mm,
I growing up, I've had severe allergies my whole entire life. Like I would not make it to Thanksgiving
no.
without having like a like sinus infection of some kind. Okay.
Huh.
The last 2 years of on this journey of a lot of meditating, a lot of keeping my vibe up and keep my vibration, I don't have any sign of this allergies anymore. It's like they disappeared. And
Mm,
I did some work on that. And it says if you're high vibe, your immune system, whatnot. So like I'm working on different things, but no, what you're saying there with that actually makes things a lot easier for me because moving forward, I can now write it down and release it. That's what I'm taking away from this.
There you go.
You get out of
Perfect.
my head anyway. So,
Yes, yes, but and also, like I said, the gratitude part is placing gratitude for the parts of yourself that came before, right? So
mhm.
like childhood, adolescence, like we can be so hard on ourselves. And I know because I used to be that person, right? I can still be that person if I decide to take. We all have the gift of free will, right? Like we can take it back. Um,
Right.
but yeah, to practice gratitude for the parts of you that came before the current you now.
Gotcha. Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
it's all good stuff.
Wow. Well, I'll have a lot. It's going to make it. This is going to change the kind of the I want to say my direction on meditation because I always
Mhm.
set my intentions to clear out things. I mean, I cleanse my house. I do all the little stuff to keep things moving, but I almost feel like whenever you reached out to me, it was like finally because I kept asking, I need help. I need some advice. I need something. I need something. I need something. It's like I don't know what it is, but I need something. You guys, my higher self knows better than I do. What do I need? And then you reached out to me. I went, well, let's just jump on that, shall we? So, like, okay. Funny how that works, but yeah. So I
I love that. Oh, I love that. You know the name Amaris means God whom God has promised, right? I mean, not to
no,
put
I did not
ego
know
into
that,
it.
but
My mother gave me that name, and it means whom God has promised because she had been praying for me for to have me for about like 10 years, and then
okay.
Source finally answered her prayers.
Right.
So
Cool. That's cool.
that's what Amaris means. I also was going to talk to you about something else, and it was about religion or like a religious. Oh, okay. So you were talking about. I'm gonna tell you a little bit more about yourself, sir.
Right.
You were speaking about giving and giving and giving, right?
Mhm.
And there's a. I'm not sure. Did you grow up religious at all? Yes, no, I don't know. Maybe.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so
I
the
was
part.
I was expected to put it that way. So
Okay, me too. So the part in the Bible where it talks about my cup runneth over, right?
Mhm.
Um, they're not supposed to get what's in your cup, honey. They're supposed to get the runoff because your cup
Uh-huh.
is so full and they get the runoff, right? So stop pouring half of your cup into other people's cup. They're supposed to get the runoff.
Yeah. Shocker. Yeah.
And
I
I
can.
get it because I've been there too, right? And
Mhm.
choosing ourselves, having gratitude for ourselves and giving us ourselves some grace, right? But we can't help others if we don't take care of ourselves first.
Absolutely. And I struggled with that for years. And finally I had to put boundaries up. And funny how fast those people that caused the problems didn't like that very much. Shocker. And yeah, I had to do some real, like after my divorce, I took like 3 years off. I was married for 2 years, took 3 years off, and I had to worry about me.
Mhm.
And that's where I really started checking into this stuff because I was up. There's a whole story behind it, but I
Sure.
I know it sounds, I mean, not to be overly like cliche about it, but Disney's Pocahontas, there's that song Colors of the Wind. Okay.
Uh-huh.
And it
Love that
says
song.
about listen to it says, you ever walk the footsteps of a stranger, you'll learn things you never knew you never knew. Well,
Hmm.
as great as that lyric is and as applicable as that is, I had to actually look at my own footsteps to learn about myself. You have to sometimes you have to take the lyric as it's written or whatever you
I
heard.
was
You
just
almost have
speaking of footsteps earlier. Do you remember when I said that? I was like
yes.
footsteps in the sand.
So I'm like, I had to reverse it. And I thought, wow, I need to like get back to know who Ken is. It's like because going
Yes.
through all that, I lost myself. I became a shell of myself. And it wasn't I knew I wasn't the guy that I know I am or to be because you start losing it. And one point I felt like someone was knocking on the head going, hey, we're still in here. Where are you at? And that took some work to get that because then the shadow work became a thing and I went through a ton of that. So a year and a half of that and I noticed it backed off, but I realized I was finally getting better.
Mm,
But now I'm in
okay.
a phase where now that like my family's gone, and I mean, I had one sister, I had a mother and a father. And when you said about there's two female and male card, I was like, oh, that's interesting. I didn't even tell you about that part.
Hmm.
That jumped up. I was like, oh, I need to pay attention to this. So that's kind of where I'm taking it to. I can't wait to see what
Okay.
tonight turns into. So, but yeah,
Beautiful. Thank you so much. I'm so glad that it resonated, and thank you for sitting with me today.
sure thing, no problem.
I appreciate you. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and close this reading out, okay? Thank
All
you.
right. Yep.